Hello, everyone. This video doesn't have a series title or anything. I am just fascinated by Austin Channing Brown. She is a writer, a speaker. She is a Black woman, as you can tell. I came into knowing her during the era of life called White Blessings. White Blessings. Lecrae said, he talked to Austin Channing Brown, and she helped him understand race better. So as a Black man wanting to understand race better, I followed her, and she's helped me to understand race better. She is the author of I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the channel, Austin Channing Brown. Austin, tell the people a little bit about yourself before we start talking about your amazing book.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to say other than I'm an author. Like, I feel like that is who I am. I've got a toddler. I've been married for 11 years. I currently live outside Detroit. But yeah, I wrote this book that is my baby.
Nice. So tell us, what prompted you to write such an amazing book?
I got fired. I got fired. I grew up around like lots and lots of white folks, Kev. And so I thought that when I entered the working world that I had white folks figured out.
Yeah.
And then I discovered I didn't. And I was like, what has gone wrong here? I thought I was the white culture whisperer. I thought I had code switching down. I thought I had white folks figured out. I knew when to reference Titanic and when to reference Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, what? Where did I go wrong?
Right.
And I realized I was working at a church that easily had maybe 250 people on staff. 5 Black people worked full time.
250 people on staff? Wow.
5 Black people.
And okay. 5 Black people. What was the audience? What was the amount of audience in the church members?
That's a good question. It was probably 20% people of color is my guess. But this was back before our current administration. Okay, this was still in the area of like hope and change. Okay. This was the hope and change era.
Got it.
So yeah, and these other 5 Black people were all struggling in very similar ways that I was. Mm-hmm. And so I started, instead of sort of focusing on myself and trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, I started looking at the system and trying to figure out what patterns each of us were facing, even though we're in different departments, even though we have different backgrounds. How is it possible that all 5 of us, ain't but 5, how is all 5 of us struggling?
Right.
And that birthed this book.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning for your life. Your mom named you Austin. I thought this was a really interesting story. Well, tell the people why your mom named you Austin. I feel like it's better to hear it from you. Yeah,
so I knew growing up that I had a boy's name, right? And that's mostly because, Kev, when we was growing up, we decided to personalize everything, right? So we personalized mugs. We had those little teeny tiny license plates that I still don't know what they was for, but
right.
We was buying them. Keychains, right? Like everything had our names on it. Yeah. And if Austin was there, it was always the color blue. Mm-hmm. So I knew, and people would kind of react like, oh, you're Austin? So I knew something was weird about my name.
Right.
But one day I went to the library, and we were that family who had to like pay down our library fine so we could check out more books. Yeah. So I was very used to librarians being like, what is happening here? Why do you owe $50 at the library? Like, what's going on? Right? So I get to the front of the line. I'm ready for her to be like, what is happening? But instead she says, is this your library card? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I think so. But we use library cards like trading cards, like credit cards. Like, is there enough money on this one? Right? Like, so I was like, I think I gave you my card, but I'm not sure. And she was like, this card says Austin. So I'm like, oh, I know what's happening here. You thought I was going to be a boy. So I'm like, nah, my name is Austin. That is my library card. Cam, she was like, are you sure? I was like, do you see the stack of books I'm trying to check out?
Right.
Do you see the fines that I owe? Do you really think I can't read my own name? Is that what's happening right
now? Yeah.
So I marched over to my mother after I finally got my little books checked out and was like, Ma, why did you give me this name? And she was like, well, Austin, you know, your name comes from your family history. And I was like, Ma, I know
all that.
Right? I know. You black, we black, everybody black. I know that, right? I'm asking you why you chose this name.
Yeah.
And her voice dropped by like 3 octaves. And I was like, ooh, this is about to be serious, right? Mm-hmm. She was like, well, Austin. I was like, oh, okay. So she sat me down and she was like, Austin, if you had been a boy, you would have been a junior. Mm-hmm. But we had never really decided on a girl's name. So one of us said Austin out loud, and she was like, we both loved it immediately. Mm-hmm. She was like, we knew that if your name was written like on an application, but nobody had met you yet, people will assume you're a white man.
Wow. Right?
It's
and you were a child at that time, and your parents already have to think about when you go to apply for jobs, how can they not secretly, but set you up for the best chance of success.
That's right. She was like, then she got all black mama on me because she was like, now you are charismatic and funny, and like any interview you do, you know, you gonna kill it, obviously.
I gotta get you in the door first.
Right. But she was like, I had to make sure you could get to the interview.
So you know what? That's kind of like part of your book title, like A World Made for Whiteness. Like your mom had to already prepare, I've got a black daughter, right? This world is not made for her. So how can I set her up? How else do you feel like, in your life or just in black people's lives, are we having to do that? Because that is not something white people have to consciously do.
No. Yeah, there was a lot of conversation. And I guess it's sort of still ongoing about like the talk that black people have, and some other communities of color too, but definitely black people. And but whenever like white folks are like listening, it sounds like it really is just one conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like we all call the family meeting, and now we will induct our black child into Black America by having this like singular talk about what it is to be Black in America. And that's not how it works. At least that's not how it worked for me. Maybe that's how it worked for other people.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like this ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah.
That just happened as you're experiencing life. So I remember going to buy one of my first little CDs, all super excited. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. But it was probably like Mariah Carey or like Tevin Campbell, like somebody that I was just like, yes, please. And I walked out the mall with the CD. I was like, don't give me no bag, don't give me no nothing. Like, I'm finna open this up. It's about to be a poster inside. You know what I mean? Let me in. And my mama was like, where's that receipt? And I was like, Ma, I don't know. She was like, you better go get that receipt. Get that receipt. Mm-hmm. She was like, you're not gonna walk out of here with no receipt in case somebody think you're trying to steal it. And I was like, okay, mama, let me go get the receipt. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, mama, got it. Right? But it was this like ongoing, you just learn as you're doing. I remember being in a party store, like Party City, and wanting these little cheap trinkets that I didn't know was cheap.
Yeah. And
touching them and being like, ooh, what does this one do? And my daddy was like, you don't walk through no store touching stuff. You don't do that. You don't touch stuff and then put your hands in your pockets. You don't, Yeah. One day you're gonna have a purse. You don't be touching your purse and stuff at the same time. Okay. I was like, oh, okay.
We always gotta, it's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't even realize we take road trips with my son, and I say, if you stop to go into a gas station to use the bathroom, you need to buy something first.
Yes.
Even if you buy a piece of gum. And I didn't,
That's right.
My parents didn't have that conversation with me. I'm like, buy something first and then say, hey, do you mind if I use your bathroom? Otherwise, It's going to be a whole
thing.
It's going to be a whole different thing, and we can't afford to have that. And they're like, man, I don't want nothing. We listen, buy gum, and then go use the bathroom, and then come out.
Right. The question isn't, do you want something? The question is, what do you not want? What we don't want is trouble. Right. So you go buy this little Twix bar.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Or go to a hotel and then just go straight to the bathroom as if you are staying at the hotel.
Listen.
It's easier, and they have nicer bathrooms,
They're very nice.
Just a little, an aside. But right? I feel like that's a thing that, especially because I have Black sons, you gotta smile. You gotta look people in the eye first. Don't even go, even if you're going just to buy something. Hello, nice to meet you. You gotta kind of defuse a situation preemptively, just to make sure your interaction, and this is another theme of your book. Yeah. That's exhausting.
It's so tiring.
It is exhausting. And you talked at length about this in your corporate world. And this is when I had to put your book down. I was listening to it on audio. And when you got into the microaggressions and exhausting part about being a Black woman, I literally had to stop your book, listen to some R&B. I listened to some Ari Lennox. And then I picked your book up the next day because I found myself getting legitimately frustrated at what happened. So talk to us a little bit about microaggressions and being Black in corporate, predominantly white corporate spaces.
Yeah, so I have this whole section in my book where I just take it literally minute by minute, right? So
This is the part, Austin. This is the part where before lunch, I was like, girl, it ain't even noon yet. I am gonna lose it. And it was just one day. Just one day. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, listen. So I used to work at this church, right? So I've worked at a lot of churches, but there was one church in particular I used to work at that also had I can't even call it social justice because it was like their charity, right? Their charity outreach. Here's where you can go get your bag of food, right, for the week or whatever. Kev, I used to walk into this church and without fail. Right. When me and one other Black woman used to walk in the door, somebody used to be like, oh my gosh, can I help you find the food pantry?
Oh my God. Why do you assume I'm poor? Why do you assume I don't have no food? I work here. Sorry, Austin. Sorry.
Kev, when I walk in the door, you hear me? I'm on my way to my office. Right? Yeah. So 9 a.m. Okay, that's how we gonna start the day.
Right.
Yeah. By 10 a.m., I'm trying to get ready for this meeting, right? I'm trying to get ready for a meeting. I got a presentation I gotta do. And some white woman done walked into my office talking about, so can you tell me your thoughts about Jesse Jackson?
Jesus, I don't have time to
have you heard this new hip hop song? What are your thoughts about this? I see Lecrae has gotten very political. Do you know Lecrae? Right?
You really do though, so it's doubly frustrating. I see Lecrae's gotten really political. It's hilarious. You must know personally why he is chosen. Please elaborate on this other individual's choices because you guys are both Black.
You hear me, Kev? So now I got to figure out how to get this woman out of my office, but I can't be rude because if I'm rude, then I'm that Black girl.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I either got to decide I'm going to take time away from preparing for this presentation to actually answer all her questions, or I'm going to have to be like, you know what? These are really complicated themes. And what I think we should do is have coffee, right? I got to make her feel special, but not actually give her what she wants. It's tricky. It's tricky.
It is so tricky.
It's tricky. Now I got to go to the meeting.
No, go ahead. I want to make a note of that, making her feel special, because you had another part of your book that I thought that was key. But go ahead.
Yes. Meeting. Right. So now I got to go to the meeting to give my presentation. And in every meeting I've been in, Kev, there's been a rule in place. And the rule is somebody get a presentation, we give positive feedback. Once they're done, then we ask questions. But I get up and I'm 5 minutes into my presentation and somebody has already been like, I'm sorry, we don't understand.
I'm only laughing to keep from crying.
Right?
Oh.
Right? I'm 5 minutes in, and somebody is like, well, but what I think Austin is trying to say.
While you're up there saying what you're trying to say.
And you know what really makes me mad, Kev? This is what like really makes me mad, is when they then repeat the exact same thing that I just said. Like, you could at least say it different. You ain't changed that damn word. What is happening?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then after the presentation, Kev, then I got to stay longer than everybody else. Because if I make my way back to my office, then I'm antisocial and I don't want to talk to nobody, right? So I got to stay like the prerequisite, like 3 minutes, talking to people that I don't even want to talk to.
You're describing my whole life at Boeing, by the way. Just like the amount of fake laugh and fake smiles you have to do every day. It's just like, and then you catch the one black person and you'd be like, okay, bruh, these white people are crazy.
Listen.
And you can just talk real quick for 15 and then you got to go put it back on for another 6-7 hours.
Listen, there was, so I told you about the 5 black people at the one workplace that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
There was a day we all ended up in the same office together by accident. Like, we didn't plan it.
Yeah.
And we, like, halfway through our conversation, we was like, we in here by ourselves. We was like, should we go someplace? Should we move? What if a white person walks by the door? They gonna think we like causing a mutiny up in here? Like,
right.
Like, it made us real nervous to realize that without trying, all the full-time black people was in the same room together alone.
Yeah. And remind me, where were you? What part of United States were you working in at this time?
Midwest.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep,
okay.
I've only ever lived in the Midwest. So Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois.
Okay, cool. So you talked about being special, right? Or white people, the nice white people, and how you have to kind of like coddle them. Even though they may also be harmful, the thought of them realizing that was too much. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I had this one work retreat. And I don't know why white people love to be out in the middle of no man's land, but it was out in the middle of no man's land, Kev. And we went on this boat. I almost got sick on the boat.
Uh-oh.
Because I don't know nothing about boats, Kev. My body don't know nothing about no boat, okay? And every time I have to get on one, my body be like, why is you on a boat?
Right.
When there's perfectly good land for you to be standing on. So I was trying not to get nauseous, but we finally ended the little boat trip. And some people like had to use the bathroom. So we just went to the nearest bar so that folks could go to the bathroom and so I could get a Coca-Cola. And my supervisor walks in behind me and she looks around and she goes, Austin, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I'm nauseous. Right? Like, if you could go get that Coke, that would be great, right? And she was like, no, I mean, you're the only black person here. And Kev, part of me wanted, first of all, I gotta be honest, part of me wanted to be like, oh, you get a gold star for noticing that. But the other half of me was like, woman, I was also the only black person on the boat. I was the only black person in the conference room we just came out of. I was the only black person in the van we rode up here in. Like, why you think you special? Why you think being the only black person around you is different from being the only black person in this here bar? Why? Tell me why. Why? It's because you think you special. Jake, you ain't special. Right? But those are the dangerous ones. Because if I look at her and I say that, right? If I say, did you notice that I was also the only black person in the conference room? Then she gonna get attitude. Right? Because I'm supposed to be grateful that I'm the only one in the conference room.
Yeah.
Right? That's supposed to be indicative of how special I am. And if I say to her, I'm just as uncomfortable in the conference room as I am in this here bar. Yeah. Now I'm saying something about her, and she know it. And she know it, Kev.
But I'm different, Austin. It's me. I'm not like them. I don't have a Confederate flag. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like, girl, listen, I don't. And the thing that I thought was most, like, that hit home the most is you didn't check her, right? Because you knew now you're gonna make it even worse for you.
For myself, right? Exactly. So sometimes I think white people be thinking like that we are deciding whether or not to give them grace based on whether or not we like have hope in them or something. Like, no, we try to figure out what is the easiest route for me. Kev, I can't get left by the bus in the middle of no man's land. I need a ride home.
You literally can't get left by the bus.
I can't get left. Okay.
Now you turn an ally into an enemy. And you know, in her mind, she's an ally. And she may have that, you know, potential, but girl, you is white too. Right? Like, I honestly didn't even realize how many microaggressions, this is a newer term for me, I don't pretend to be a scholar, that you, especially for Black women, this is even worse for Black women than it is for Black men, that you have to deal with like daily. The ones you don't even like, you're so like, can I touch your hair is a bigger one, right? It's not always those overt ones. Yeah. It's smaller things that just kind of like build up over time, and you're like, realize you're gritting your teeth all day. Right. You know what I mean? And you're working in a church, right? You're not in you're in a church. Like,
most of my experiences are connected to the church, so it's some sort of faith-based initiative. There are very few places I've had that weren't.
I'm sorry, I was talking all over you.
No, I was just saying that most of my experiences have been faith-based.
So was that harder because in addition to whiteness, you have Jesus, Austin, and you know what? You're upset. Let's pray.
Kev, let me move close to this camera, and let me tell you how many prayers I have had to endure that were not, I repeat, about changing the system,
right?
About changing the policy, right? But that were like, Lord, please give Austin a heart filled with grace. What?
Give who a what? The unmitigated gall. I don't even know if my butt just showed, but I know
the audacity.
The capacity.
Listen. It's rough. It's rough out here in these white evangelical streets now.
Man, listen, this year more than, here's the thing that's funny to me. I want to take a quick aside and I want to talk about the white evangelical streets. This year, right, we're taping this as the election is still going on.
Yeah.
It is like white people are, in large numbers, are just becoming aware that other white people are racist and crazy.
Astounding.
They are like, man, they're asking Black, have you seen this? Yeah, we been known. Like, they really are like, wow, we thought this ended when Obama became president. Like, literally, they thought racism, they thought it ended on the day he stood in Chicago and accepted the nomination for president or whatever it is. They thought, all right, whew, racism.
So glad we got over that. So glad we got over this racism thing.
Long time coming. We are done. Like, it was the SATs. They thought they just turned in their thing and they just waiting to get the result back. Oh, I got a 1480 on the racism. Like, bruh. This is ingrained in the fabric of America. It's in the DNA and the chromosomes. It's in the blood vessels. It's in the roots and go ahead.
All that, and in your cousin Bob, okay? Because you know how most white folks figure out that they whole family is racist as hell?
How?
Most of them figured out on Facebook.
Oh yeah, Facebook has unearthed a lot of ways people were not aware. It's not just Thanksgiving anymore.
It's not just Thanksgiving anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Your likes and your shares and your comments and Facebook, you put in that, you'd be like, are you what?
Right? And Black folks sitting over here like, told you. Right? Black folks was like, your auntie was my teacher. I told you. Okay.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. It's tough, man. It is. Whew. Okay. Now let's go back. Because we brought up Lecrae, and I don't want to harp on Lecrae. He's my boy. He's a friend. I defended him. But I thought it was interesting that whole, this summer, there was white pastor after white pastor who said stuff and they were genuinely surprised that there was flack about it. I mean, with predominantly Black, some had predominantly Black memberships, and they said stuff, and the Black people was like, yo, and they're like, what? White blessings, bro. Our founding fathers weren't racist. They owned slaves. Bruh, here y'all go with that again. Talk to us about and I keep saying us because I know our people are watching it. We are a community, the stage crew. Just talk to us about what that's like and what you kind of I want to specifically talk about what you told Lecrae, but what you notice about that, part of America, which is changing kind of dramatically over this last year, more vividly or visibly.
So white folks, especially white Christians, especially white evangelical Christians, really want to feel this much responsibility, but only enough for them to feel like we can overcome.
Yeah.
Right. So they want a speed bump where they can be like, "Ooh, I saved somebody's life today." Right. Yeah. But they ain't trying to climb no mountains. Okay.
Exactly.
So what white folks often default to, even if they're willing to start this conversation on race, is how do we make it more palatable, right? How do we turn the mountain into a speed bump? Because I would be much more comfortable with the speed bump version than the mountain, right? Right?
Yeah.
So white folks be like, okay, so here's what we gonna do. Instead of talking about race as a sin that is baked into the foundation of this country, what we gonna do is call it white blessings.
Right. Oh my God. It just clicked, because to call it a sin and to say you have benefited from it, it calls into question how you talking about affirmative action to us. What about what white privilege has done for you? If this is true, then that means I benefit? I currently do? No, not me. Yes, you. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so white folks are invested in diluting the problem. Right? They're invested in diluting the problem because so think about it this way. So Black folks, we as a people have to, we consider it our duty to really take account of what slavery was.
Yeah.
Right? So we go to museums, we read books, we watch movies, both documentary style and fiction, right? Because we are trying to get an understanding of what it was actually like to be so hated by our own country.
Yep.
Right? What was it like for us to actually experience Jim Crow?
Yeah.
Right? What was it? What were the conditions such that we were willing to die for the right to vote?
Yeah.
right? Like we go deep to try to make sense of the pain, the survival, right?
That's
Now
crazy, Austin.
imagine.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't even.
No, go.
When I went to college, I
Yes.
saw the list of classes, and I
Yes.
was like, the first 2 years, I took every single one, read every book. I was just like hungry for it, like starved for it. And then I was freaking out because I realized I didn't even know. Like we hadn't even scratched the surface, and it was way worse.
Right.
Way worse. The paper that changed my life, I had to write a paper on the nadir of the Black experience and how it actually got worse for Black people after slavery.
Yep.
And I remember when my teacher guided me, and I was like, bro, what are you talking about? How could it have gotten worse after slavery? So he assigned some books, and I read them, and I was like, oh my God. It got way worse, but go ahead.
No, so imagine for a moment that each piece of knowledge, every sentence that you had to read, every paper you had to write, every movie you've ever watched, like imagine that each of those is a coin.
Yeah.
Right? By the time you get to be 40, that bag of coins is so heavy. Right? Where are you going to push it? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. Because it is heavy. Okay?
Yeah.
But what we're asking white folks to do, come on over here. Come on over here. You say you care about this? Push it. Right? You say you care about this? Come on over here. Push it.
Right. Right.
And white folks be like, wait, all them coins though?
Heavy.
Right? They be like, I'm not sure all these coins is real. Now wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right? They be like, well, let me just take like an armful. I'm gonna take these. I'm gonna take these ones right here. And I'm gonna call them white blessings.
Right.
Right? And maybe I could convince some other white folks by calling them white blessings. Maybe they'll take like 3 coins out of my arms. Hey, you be like, that ain't what we doing. That ain't what we doing.
Right.
Move the whole bag.
Yeah.
Right? And so white folks are extraordinarily intimidated to really contemplate our lived experience, both past and present. And it makes them do crazy shit like call racism white blessings.
That is, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. So as we are like talking, the election is still going on. I don't know if I'm gonna post this today or tomorrow. Maybe I'll post it today so it'll be as fresh in the moment of time as we are now. But when I went to sleep last night, Biden was losing Georgia and Wisconsin and Michigan, right? And Michigan by like a lot, you know. When I went this morning, when I rolled, I looked and hey, weeping may endure for a moment, but hey, you know, but what has happened is whether he wins those or not, wins the election or not, here's what's crazy. Popular vote, 50-48. Donald J. Trump has done literally every impeach, scandal, audio clips, played golf more than anyone, completely mishandled COVID, knew about it in February. I mean, stuff that prior to him would have taken down any candidate or any president.
That's right.
One of those gaffes, and white or black, Republican or Democrat, prior to him, one of those scandals would have, it's over, right? He still has a likelihood and a chance of winning the election with all this. Yeah. And that is really surprising to a lot of white people on my timeline. It is not surprising to black people.
No.
It's not I mean, maybe that white people are like so committed to whiteness. Like, y'all are, even unbiasedly, you could argue that he's not the best president, right? But they're like, man, no, right? And I think we were talking on another panel before, or in a conversation, I can't remember. You were talking about how whiteness was created to separate poor white people from Black people, because by economic standards, they were the same. And they could not register being the same as Black people. So the idea of whiteness was created. Can you talk a little bit about whiteness being created?
Yeah, so historians say that once upon a time, in very early American history, well, really even before America became America, right? So like pre-declaration, that slavery already existed on the shores of America, right? So whiteness was created as an idea so that Black folks then become inherently inferior, i.e. worthy of enslavement. Mm-hmm. And white folks, even if they poor, at least they ain't Black.
Because you got to say that, right? Because there's a lot more poor white people than rich white people. So if you're rich white and you don't want the poor whites to be y'all or to threaten y'all, let me give them another enemy, right? Because a lot of times poor white people will vote against their self-interest as long as it's perceived as hurting Black people, right? And as Americans, we hate the idea of a government handout, stimulus check, and welfare, right? But when it comes to corporations and businesses who get billion-dollar handouts all the time, we've got no problem with that.
And not only that, Kev, but the truth is that white Americans are the least honest about their own history of having received handouts, right? So you look at the GI Bill, you look at how suburbs were built, you look at, right, like white women have been the beneficiaries of affirmative action, I think more than any other
other people
demographic.
By a lot,
right? And so if white folks wanted to be honest, they would at least say only white people should get handouts. Right? Right? Like, if they wanted to be honest, right, they would be like, well, we think is handouts should be allowable, but only when they say for white people only at the top. Yeah. That's when they should be allowed.
Oh man, it's so much, Austin. It's like so much that's like baked into being Black that your book in a lot of ways, I knew how white people were and I knew what it's like to be Black, but when you see it written, where in my case, I started reading and then I started listening. You have a great voice for audiobooks. That's not the case for everyone, but I enjoyed hearing your, like, because there were sometimes you got super quiet and I was just like, and you took the pauses at the moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt it so much more. That's why, I mean, I bought it to have it in hand and touch it, but to hear you speak your experience, it cut, a lot more. And it was my wife's experience almost verbatim, right? I remember she was telling me like, some employees or coworkers, they were like low key, like, you're intimidating. And I was like, and she came home, it was me, her sister, and my brother-in-law. She was like, am I intimidating? And I was like, girl, you are not intimidating to us. But I can easily see how white people are intimidated by you. And she was genuinely like, but I'd be so like, but even if you're confident and stern, that's like, well, shoot, I don't know, she be tripping. And I heard about, like, I'm gonna take a little side, because Monique's Netflix thing, right? She was talking about how Black women get pegged difficult to work with.
Yes.
And it usually means difficult to get over on. Like, if they're gonna fight me and stuff, I just don't wanna do that. So let me peg her as difficult to work with, because then other people won't wanna work with her and then I don't have to deal with her. Yeah. And that happens so much. Before we let you go, I got a couple more things I wanna talk to you about. This one in your book was really spoke to me. You grew up around a lot of white people, and then I think your parents got divorced, and you had to go start spending more time with your Black cousins, right? And they hit you with, and this happened to me. My mom got married to my dad when I was around 10. And I didn't grow up around a lot of white people, but in El Paso, the Black church was the like core of my being. And the rest of my experience was Hispanic. Everybody's Mexican, right? So when I had to go to Atlanta for the first time, right. I didn't know how to pronounce Shawty, right? I couldn't say Shad. I just never got it. They were very frustrated with me, my cousins, but they hit me with the talking white. And it like obliterated me because I had never heard that. And your book, you talked about that. And I was like,
it's so painful, right?
I did not try to. I didn't even grow up around white people. It was just Mexican people and Blacks, you know? But I'm not country. I'm not from Atlanta. And all my cousins in Atlanta is very different. We literally went from El Paso, Texas to Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's different.
I hear you.
It was so different. So, and this is a Black to Black people thing, but it's still based around whiteness.
It is. I know, isn't that crazy? The way like whiteness can infiltrate, like it is. It's so insidious. It's so insidious.
So like, and you know, even like, well, talk about that experience a little bit, and then I'll ask my next question.
Yeah. It's so hard. So in my case, what made it so hard is that because I grew up around all these white folks, and I was never like the only one in the class or nothing, but whiteness is so all encompassing, right? That I just felt aware of my body and who I am all the time.
Yeah.
So consequently, I felt like I was super blackety black on top of black with some black port on, right? And then I go into this all Black space and they like, why you talk white? And I was like, what? What? What are you? Oh, okay. Right? Oh, like you agree? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. And that had real potential to be devastating.
Yes.
It had real potential to be absolutely devastating because I didn't want whiteness. Right? I didn't want to be them. I didn't want to sound like them. I didn't want to listen to their music. Like I didn't want it. Right? And so then to go into this Black space and they be like, but can you do the Tootsie Roll? I'm not so sure. And I was like, please have faith in me. Please. I really think I could learn if you just teach me. I really do feel a connection to the butterfly. Like if you could just. I do know the electric slide. Can we start with the electric slide and work my way up? Can we do that?
Oh, it's so funny.
No, I don't know how to play spades, but like I'll cheer from the sidelines. I can't be help, but I can bring you some hot chips.
Right.
Right. But I want to say, what I really want to say about this is that it's possible to carry a lot of woundedness, right? Because you didn't want this and you longed for this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And to be told, even from other children, right? To be told from other children that you might not ever fit this, that can cause a lifelong wound.
Oh, for sure.
And what I want us to remember is that they was kids too. Right? Like they was kids too, just trying to figure it out. They was trying to figure out, why do you sound different? Because you do.
Yeah.
Right? They was trying to figure out like, but my folks play spades in the basement every other day. Your folks don't do that, right?
I'm so grateful that my dad got stationed in Fayetteville and we lived off base, because those 3 years is when I learned how to play spades. Without that, I can't like pumpkin pie and not know how to play spades. You gotta have something that compensates.
Right? And that was my experience, Kev, right? So there was this girl who lived 4 houses down from my mama. She was spunky as all get out. She knew everything, right? She had all the Ebony magazines, all the Jet magazines. She knew every dance. She like had siblings who were like way older than her. So she also knew a lot that she wasn't supposed to know for her age.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So she was like the coolest of the cool. And for whatever reason, she could see me, right? Like, even though I was really introverted, even though I was kind of bookish, even though, you know, if the neighborhood was playing kickball, I was gonna be on the sidelines reading, you know, but it just didn't bother her, right?
Yeah.
And she was the one who would like, we'd be in her living room and she would like be teaching me how to do the butterfly. Or she would be like, ooh, listen to this song, okay? SWV, you finna get the lyrics, okay? Weekend and These ain't that hard. So we go listen to it 5 times. And at the end of 5 times, you're gonna be singing it like everybody else singing it, right? But she was like my connection, right? She was like the person who would be like, okay, she talked different, so what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she would be like, she's still black, she's still black, what you talking about, right?
Yeah.
But I realized everybody doesn't get that person who intervenes, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I just hope that for anybody else who has had that shared experience, right? That I hope that you can forgive these kids who was just trying to figure out culture, just like we was trying to figure out culture.
Yeah, and that's actually one thing I feel like is changing between Black people, right?
Yeah.
It's like, even like anime, for example, there's a group called RDC World, and they're young Black dudes, and they are into sports, but they're equally into anime, and they make videos about it, right?
Yep.
And I love it because my sons are into anime. And I was watching Dragon Ball Z. I didn't realize I was into anime. I just like Dragon Ball Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my show. And I never went to the other ones, but I was all in. I saw every episode that came on. So now my sons can watch RDC World and be like, oh, they're Black and they like anime and they're cool. So I can continue to like that. And my son is into filmmaking, and, you know, years ago, he would have been called weird and nerdy. Right? And now Black people are like, nah, bro, he good. First of all, that's my son. I wish you would. You know what I'm saying? But he sees creators who are Black, who are weird and nerdy, and who, you know, who like anime or who like traveling or whatever. And I'm glad Black people, we are more open to all of our many iterations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't like that when I was a kid. Like, we weren't, in my experience, we weren't as open with that as we are now. And,
yeah, but I think that's why we have our generation has some healing work to do.
Yeah.
You know, and to be like, it's okay. All of us, we was just trying to figure out how our cultures could be so different, but we didn't have language for it back then.
Yeah.
Right? We just didn't have the language for what we're experiencing now.
Yeah. So before I let you go, I want you guys to buy this book. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World for Whiteness, Austin Channing Brown. It is amazing, okay? I didn't realize Lecrae did one of your things. I just thought that I don't think I ever turned your book over. I just like got it and was like, words! Austin is also a great follow on Twitter as well. Very funny, very poignant. So get her book, get the hard copy. I actually got mine from a Black bookstore. It took a little bit longer to get there, but that's their fault. And also I just want to say this real quick. People are not taking longer. Amazon is just ridiculously fast, and it makes you feel like something is taking long. Because I ordered deodorant last night on Amazon and it just arrived. One day, the rest of us are not that. This is a freaking global conglomerate billion-dollar company. They can move faster than one Black-owned bookstore in Philly that I bought this from. Right? Just give us a break, y'all. We are not slow. We are just not Amazon.
Yes. We cannot, please do not raise us to the expectation of Amazon.
Bro, we can't compete. People buying shirts from me and 3 days later be like, where's my shirt? Fam, somebody had to go find it, take it off the rack, put it in here.
7 to 10 days.
We are just people. We are just farmers. We don't have a huge factory, almost sweatshop level. It's just 4 Black people most of the time. I used to be working like, girl, I'm at work still. I got to get home from work, find your shirt and I gotta ship it on my lunch break. Please understand. But please get her book. It is a great book. If you don't have the money, follow her on Twitter. Great tweets. Anything you want to leave us with, Austin? I also want to thank you. Austin had a conversation with me. I'm not going to bring it up, but Austin was my Black friend, like that girl was for you. Austin was a friend to me when I had no one in the world, like Anita Baker. She said, and she talked to me for an hour and a half, and I will treasure that day, Austin. You don't know how much that meant to me. I was like, thank you, because everybody's mean to me on Twitter. And Austin said, Kevin's okay. I said, do you promise? And we hadn't even, that was our first conversation. And she really had my back, y'all. She Black girl rubbed my back, and she said, Kevin's gonna be all right. And I am forever, Austin, forever grateful for you and for that moment. Before I let you go, please let people know where to find you, what you're working on, all the things.
Yeah, so I'm at Austin Channing on Instagram and Twitter, at Austin Channing Brown on Facebook. I am hoping to turn I'm Still Here into a young reader's version.
Really? Nice.
I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited about that. I am starting sort of a season 2. You know, everything is like weird now that we're in a pandemic, but the web series will be starting up again. So the next question, tnqshow.com. We'll be doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. I think that's it. I mean, who knows what the rest of 2020 will bring? Hello.
Listen, you know what? Unique Jones Gibson, she tweeted. Do you know her? Okay, she's great. She's fantastic. You're fantastic too. But she said, you know what, Black folks, we're going to be all right. And I was like, man, you right. Because we have survived under some pretty harsh conditions, and we've always found love, and we've always found joy and laughter in the midst of great struggle and great opposition. I wish it wasn't like this, but we always find a way to have each other's back and to find community and find laughter and joy and all those things. And that was really comforting, because I was like, bro, America be tripping.
I believe in us. You know, people often ask me about hope as an anti-racism educator, and I'd be like, my hope is not in whiteness. It's not in white people. It ain't in white policies. It ain't in white presidents. It ain't in, you know what I mean? Like, my hope, you talking about some deep disappointment. Like, I can't. My hope is always, always, always in us.
Absolutely. So guys, please support Austin, buy her book, show her some love. And do you do Cash App, or any people want to donate to you, or are you just rather than buy your book?
I got my little PayPal link. It's, you know, all in the link in bio.
Okay. If y'all want to support her financially, in addition to her book, go ahead. You know, we're going to be a blessing to the ministry. Amen. We want to sow into good ground. Amen. We want to see the prophetess off, you know, on her next destination. But thank you so much, Austin. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to click below and find her, follow her, support her, and we'll see you next time.
Hello.